Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast special. We are recording here live from the Toddington pub in North London. And joining me this evening are the stupid Mark King here, who's pissing around behind my back. We've got Akhil. And in Clive's stead, we've got the one and only Tim Stillman. Thanks for joining us.
Clive? Where's Clive?
Clive is unavailable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where's Clive?
Never heard of him.
So that's our one watcher gone, our one viewer gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Switch on. Check if Clive's there. Switch on.
Switch off, yeah. All right, so
What are you doing there? You're not even on the bench.
I'm at home. That's what I told the wife. Anyway.
all right, so let's break it down. Looking ahead from Swansea, the next run of games, the team. Everyone's talked about teams playing half a game. The last how many games? It's been a half a game team. Where do you see us improving in this next run of games? We've got Burnley, Watford, Southampton, leading up to this Chelsea game. Where do you want to see the improvements in our team? I mean, we need to arrest this problem of starting slowly. I don't know if it's a mentality thing, maybe there's a subconscious thing or unconscious thing where they think that the game's already won, and it's definitely not a fatigue thing for me because the second half shows you that we usually outlast teams. So, Mark, I'll start with you.
The thing that worries me is it's not just about starting slowly and then playing well second half. We don't seem to be able to do either. We can't fuck up one way or the other. Everton, decent first half, 1-up, shit second half. City, decent first half, go to crap, rubbish second half, lose both games. Then you flip it over and you go Bournemouth, rubbish first half, great second half. And then you look at Preston, rubbish first half, decent second half. And even Swansea, rubbish first half. So if it was that we were coming out and every first half we looked rubbish and second half we were making up for it, you could maybe say, okay, why are we coming out so slow? But it's not. It's a mixture of both. So I'm really worried that it's not just about. You can't just say, why does the team go out on the pitch and be so unprepared for a game? Because it flips, And I mean, obviously, what we all want is for the team to perform for 90 minutes. But then it's not just a pattern of no first half, everything second half. It's a mix. So that's where I'm a little bit worried about what's happening.
When you look at the Everton and City games, the guys were really switched on in that first half. They were really playing to instruction, especially the City game. We looked like we were playing to instruction, really switched on, and obviously the second half we just couldn't come out of the gates. Whereas against Bournemouth, Preston and Swansea, they might have thought the game was won already, or they didn't take the game as. I'm very reluctant to say as seriously as City and
Complacent,
but yeah, there's a level of complacency.
I tend to think it's because basically Everton and Man City we were 1-0 up, and Arsene Wenger is much more comfortable giving instructions when we're chasing the game. So when we were 1-0 up against Everton and City, there probably wasn't much said other than keep doing what you're doing, but Everton and City switched it up. Whereas Preston, Bournemouth, Swansea, it was more, right, this isn't good enough and you need goals, so this is what you're going to do to go and get goals. Whereas Arsene Wenger is probably not as comfortable with saying this is how you control the game, and B, in both of those games that we lost, we didn't respond to the way that Everton and City changed at half time. And because he doesn't really intervene from the bench either, you don't get that kind of, because he leaves it to the players to work it out for themselves. Basically, it's much easier, I think, to give a half-time team talk when you need goals, and it's go for goals, push up. You saw when Ramsey scored against Preston, the thumbs up between them. That was obviously because Wenger said, push forward, go for goals, because that's what he's comfortable doing, and that was fairly obvious.
We're 1-0 down, guys. Unless we score, we're going out of the cup.
Exactly. And we're a team much more set up for that. Whereas Everton and City, he was probably responding to what happened in the first half, but they both completely changed at half time, and we didn't respond.
Right. Let me ask you this, right? One of the things you could say about those two different types of games is that one is Everton away, City away. Two tough games. Yeah. We go out, we seem to be ready. You know, we get goals, we get ahead, then we get caught out by the other team changing up their game. Preston, Bournemouth and Swansea, 3 teams that you wouldn't expect to need to kind of like get that focus in. I'm not saying no focus, because I'll come back to that, but to get that focus in whereby we then have the shit first half. You know, is there anything in that? And one of the things that really annoyed me, and I said it the other day, was that when Ramsey and Giroud did their post-match interview after Preston, and they went, yeah, we were really surprised at the commitment of Preston. I'm like, you know, I'm still struggling to understand that as much as I'm struggling to understand Iwobi trying to head that ball off the line against PSG. It just doesn't make any sense to me as a footballer to think you're going to go to Preston in the FA Cup and you know what, this team in the Championship is not going to do everything they can to get at you. So I don't know, is there anything in the fact that was 2 big teams against 3 teams where you'd expect Arsenal can turn up and win?
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back probably further, and even sort of the West Brom and Palace games, they weren't. I mean, Palace, I think, was always comfortable. I always felt we were quite comfortable here. West Brom obviously kind of wasn't. I don't know, you know. I mean, there's something in that. I guess probably know a little bit more from our next 4 games, because, you know, I don't know. But it's, for me, that sort of, that we were so fluid, you know, in those opening 3 months of the season. And yeah, we lost Santi Cazorla, and yeah, we had to kind of change things around. But you know, we can't keep using Santi Cazorla now as an excuse, because Santi's not playing anymore. He's pretty much gone for the season. So we've lost that sort of fluid thing. Yeah. And I think one thing to help it. So your original question was, how do we sort of change it? I think Hector Bellerin coming back will change it. I know he came back for a little while in the middle, but I don't think he was completely fit then. I think he could have played against Swansea. If that was Chelsea away, he would have played.
That right side has changed
because of Walcott's out as well.
So you've had Gabriel, Maitland-Niles at right back, and Perez, and so there's been no continuity.
There's been no, exactly. And I think that potentially that could help, having Bellerin back fit. So I think he could have played against Swansea, but he wasn't risk because of the opposition maybe. And you kind of want to give him the next sort of at least 2 out of 3 games to then get him fit, get him sharp for Chelsea. But it's just that bit of that. I'm still not sure we know our best 2 in the middle, and we haven't had a choice because Coquelin got injured at the time. So again, Coquelin's back now, so we should be able to see what's going to happen there. You know, when we go to Chelsea, we think about Chelsea. Are we going to go with Coquelin, Xhaka, Coquelin, Ramsey, Coquelin?
The 3.
All the 3, all the 3, which actually might make the most sense. But you know, so there's kind of there's things there where I'm not sure we know our best team. It's not. I wouldn't like to blame anyone, because there has been injuries at the wrong time. You know, if Coquelin did get injured against Bournemouth, we might know our best midfield right now. But then Xhaka and Ramsey have potentially started to play a little bit better now as well. Does that help the first half?
And the spine's changed as well, in terms of if you're looking at starting on the front foot, you probably want Coquelin central midfield, Alexis up front. And one of those things has had to change. The other one, we put Giroud up front. And that instantly you don't get that press.
Mustafi at centre half as well, because Mustafi is very much a front foot centre half as well. I think we did miss him driving the team forward a little bit from the back. You know, so you're right.
And in fact,
those 3 guys will drive the team forward another 10-15 yards.
And in those second halves against Everton and City, I think we really missed Mustafi then, because that bit when we just had a bit of pressure on us, you know, with Everton I just thought they were quite physical, they just kind of bullied us out of it. But against City, there was a bit of time between the first and the second goal, the City goals. So, you know, Mustafi there might have just pushed us up. Yeah.
I know you think that over the next 3 or 4 games leading up to Chelsea, Wenger might change that midfield centre. Just talk us through your thoughts behind that.
So I think basically because he's still no closer to understanding what his best central midfield is beyond Coquelin and Cazorla, which is the only one that really works. Not perfect, but it works best. And I think what he's going to do is, in this next 3 games, I don't know which particular combination per game, but I think you'll see Ramsey Coquelin for one, Coquelin Xhaka for the other, and Xhaka Coquelin for the other, and then he'll make a decision about what he does at Stamford Bridge after that.
Do you think though that changing it up so often, you're not getting any continuity leading up to the Chelsea game.
Possibly.
Do you think in the final game before Chelsea you might see the two that will play against Chelsea?
Yeah, quite possibly.
I think that was what you were saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah.
of like change it. The which one is it? Southampton away or Watford at home? Watford at home, play the two or three, or not, and surprise them that you're going to do at Chelsea, because that, there's no doubt. I know we always say one game at a time and the next game's always the most important, but you have to, you can't win the league unless you're going to look at certain games and think, okay, this is a game where we do some rotation. I look at something and I rest players.
Yeah.
The most important game, other than obviously Southampton in the cup, is Chelsea, because that's a game that we cannot afford to lose. So he has to be looking and planning for that game.
Yeah, and you'd like to think against Burnley and Watford at home, he could at least cope with a midfield pairing that perhaps isn't quite perfect, so that you can have a look at what's there.
Definitely.
Ax, I want to ask you, the Giroud has come into the centre of attack, and he's scored vital goals, and he's looked very good. He's been, vital to our fortunes. Leading up to Chelsea, do you think we're better off seeing Alexis back up front with Ozil closer to him, or do you think that Giroud deserves to continue having that opportunity to play, because he's not really done anything wrong?
I mean, I sometimes think it's not okay. It's not black and white. It's not a case of if Olivier Giroud doesn't play next game, he's dropped. It's not that. You have a squad. You have options in a squad. You have different plans in a squad. Hopefully, and there's some games that Olivier Giroud will be suited for. And it's after City, we actually looked at the fixtures and thought, actually, we're aiming to win our next 6, and if we do win our next 2, it'll be 5 out of 6 with the Bournemouth. And actually, in all 6 of those, you could have actually, if someone had said that Olivier Giroud actually will play the ball because he's quite suited to them, you would have thought, well, okay, I kind of see why. And Alexis will play again against Chelsea because of that leading from the front, that pressing, along with Coquelin back, because it's all potentially Walcott even back, so you've got your right hand side back. And you try and repeat what you did at the Emirates, I guess, with that Sonic Solar. But so I think it's not a case of do you drop Olivier Giroud, it's a case of, and I think he's starting to understand that as well. At the moment he's flying at the moment. Fair play to him. But I think Olivier Giroud has learned that he's actually, and when he signed his contract, I mean, who accepts a new contract or takes a new job without knowing, all right, what's actually my role? You sign, you want to know what's going to happen. And I'm hoping the club would have told him pretty much what's happened this season. There'll be some games where you're perfect for, right, the Christmas period. And there'll be games where you're still going to make an impact. You're still going to come off the bench and score like you did at Old Trafford, like you did against Sunderland, and you've got a massive part to play still.
I think that's the thing. He hasn't done an awful lot in this run of games that don't think he could have done from the bench. But I agree with you, there are certain types of games. So when we're at home against teams that are going to defend deep, we might as well have him up there, occupying centre halves and doing this thing there. I think certainly away from home, we set up much better with Alexis up front. And you look at the amount of goals we've scored away from home this season, I think we're much better, particularly when we go to Chelsea with him. But when we're playing teams that are, I still prefer Alexis anyway, but when we're playing teams that play very deep, I'm kind of alright with Giroud just staying up there, occupying the centre halves. We can give Alexis a free role anyway, he doesn't have to be a left winger, it can almost be like a front two. So I agree, like Burnley, Watford, I won't cry any tears if Giroud starts. Chelsea, Alexis.
I mean, those 2 games in defence, they'll be dropped back, Burnley and Watford. It's going to be a game where you might have to do something different to get it on.
So, actually going on from that theme, we all want, I suppose we all want Alexis back up front in an ideal way, especially against Chelsea. But
against Chelsea,
they've kind of dropped off. Alexis and Ozil have kind of dropped off. They've struggled to have that, especially Ozil struggled to have that dynamism. If you look at the early season form, I'm not really one for XG and all that sort of stuff, but it was kind of off the charts. Ozil's conversion to sort of a false, whatever you want to call it, scoring more goals. His assist, he's got 9. I think he's assisted only 6 so far this season. His chance creations have dropped. So we're expecting those two to sort of like be the default option up front going up to Chelsea, but that's on the proviso. That's on the assumption that they're just going to click.
Yeah, I think early on in the season they kind of both knew their roles it was quite clear. You know, with Ozil, he was, as Clive's mentioned many times, his role changed a little bit this year. You know, last year he was that chief creator. This year he was actually kind of getting behind. You know, the Ludogorets goal is probably the best example. You know, in that sort of getting behind, getting the goal. You know, he scored more this season than I think he's probably ever scored.
I think he's on par.
Certainly he's on par and probably will beat it. But then I think those two games, Everton and City, I think it did affect him, because I think though he got a lot of stick, not just from media, he got stick from his own fans, and that probably affected him. He had this kind of convenient flu kind of thing, which you call it
winter break.
But I mean, I'm sure he was ill, but it was just 2 bad games.
He's sick of playing football.
Well, 2 bad games, didn't play again for a while. So now you would hope he would come back and you know, get that sort of form back. And I think, you know, in that time things have changed as well. So Alexis now isn't playing up front as much as Giroud is. So now does Mesut go back to the Mesut of last season, or does he go back to an example I think of Everton at home, 2 goals Olivier Giroud, 2 balls from Mesut Ozil, quite deep. All the West Brom goal as well this season, you know, the cross in. Does Mesut go back to that, or is Mesut going to be the one? And I'm not sure. Maybe he's caught in 2 minds at times. So we'll see. But I think, you know, he's only had 1 game back since his winter break.
Do you guys think that actually Walcott not being there has affected the way we play in a certain way?
Yeah, maybe. I think for Wenger, because there's this kind of, you know, he doesn't really like confrontation, right? So dropping Giroud for the good of the team is probably not something that he's not willing to do, but you know what I mean? Like something he's reluctant to broach that subject while Giroud is scoring. And maybe he's kind of thinking to himself, well, while Walcott's not there, maybe I won't. He's not using Lucas Perez that much, and Lucas Perez to me is another Walcott in terms of he offers you very little other than in the 18-yard area.
But he might run.
Yeah, he might only touch the ball 12 times a game, but one will be a goal or an assist. And maybe he's kind of using that as a bit of a get out at the moment to not broach that subject. But I think at the moment it reminds me a little bit of when we had this situation with Henry and Fabregas, where Henry was kind of getting on, he was getting sciatica, and Fabregas was coming through, and there was this question of who's the main man now? Is it Fabregas or is it Henry?
Yeah.
And at the moment it feels like the scales have tipped between Ozil and Alexis, where the team it's between both of them, but largely last year it was Ozil with some Alexis, and now
if I had a hood, I'll put it on right now and sit like this.
Exactly, like it feels like it's gone slightly the other way, and maybe Ozil's struggling to cope with that as well a bit. He went deep in the Euros as well, so you know, I think they're still working that out a little bit, to be honest.
What do you think, Mark?
I just my concern is just that, as you've said, it's like we're in January and we're still talking about, you know, which is his best team, who does he play where, what does he do this, and he doesn't like confrontation. You know, I mean, these are themes that we've talked about for a long time, and for me, I you know, everybody will know what my stance is. I just think Arsene Wenger ends up managing the team day by day based on circumstance. You know, based on who's injured. If someone gets injured, then I'm going to have to make this change. You know, I don't want to drop this guy, but if someone gets injured or he gets injured, that stops me having. I just think there's. You know, it's one of the reasons why I kind of haven't got the faith, is that I just think he's just doing it day by day.
I agree.
There's no real plan, you know, there's no, you know, from what you're saying, you know, you make a decision that either this is your first choice pairing or lineup, and this is my second choice, or, you know, you've got your team that you will play against certain opponents, home or away, and you do that. I just don't see that anymore. I just see a kind of a mishmash and a just pick the team as you go along.
The only position
that's what really worries me.
The only position he's got that is in goal because it's Petr Cech plays
Yeah, but
Premier League
I'm not
games.
being funny, but even then, you will look. There's a lot of people that would say Ospina.
Oh, no, it might not be right. It might not be right, but I'm just saying.
A lot of people will say Ospina probably has he done anything to not deserve a chance in the Premier League? Why should Ospina only get a game every 3 or 4 weeks?
I agree as well.
Even in rubbish Premier League. I mean, look, I'm not being funny, but home to Burnley. Why would you not give Ospina a game to keep him match fit? You know, because otherwise he's going to the Southampton game not having played since Preston. Yeah. And I just don't think, he's not playing under 23 games. And it doesn't matter what people say about training. There is a world of difference between what players do in training and competitive football. You know what Ospina got at Preston. When that big lump give him an elbow. Yeah, what he got there is a world of difference away from playing a game. So why not play him against Burnley?
I agree, particularly when you look at the central midfield and you look at all of the options we've got there at the moment. And this summer, you kind of thought, right, Arteta, Flanley's gone, he's replaced them all and some. We've got all these options, but it doesn't strike you that he had a real plan for them. And I've always said, I think Wenger's a much better manager when he has no choice. When there's an injury crisis or something and he has to pick the same 11, I think that's when you get the best out of him. Because he has to make something work. I think there's things players have said about his personality, right? That he's a bit of a scatterbrain. Like there's stories about him dropping his lunch in the canteen and not noticing.
Yeah, he's not the sharpest.
I think choice confuses him. I think almost like when he's only got like easier players and it focuses him somehow. I feel even you look at the Invincible season, we were picking the same 11 every week. Don't get me wrong, those days are gone, but I feel like choice confuses him sometimes.
Edu only came in when someone was injured. In a way, actually, to back your point up, people have been wanting Ramsey and Xhaka to play together, see how it goes, and actually it's and Giroud and Walcott, and it's probably only happened because Coquelin
is injured.
His injury is more.
But how did Coquelin and Cazorla come together?
Exactly.
Injuries. We had no one else.
Man City.
This actually works. In one way, that's a strength of Wenger's that he can make these things work. But on the other hand, it feels like that's his plan.
And again, there seems to be, when you've watched Xhaka and Ramsey, there seems to be an unstructuredness about them. There's no defined role for them. Swansea, a case in point, you see Ramsey coming to pick the ball off the defenders, and the next moment you see Xhaka coming to pick the ball. You see Xhaka pressing up front, and we seem to be better when there's more definition. After half time, when we knew we needed goals, Xhaka was at the back playing a quarterback role, and Ramsey was up front helping Giroud. The goal is a case in point. I mean, it'd be good to see those guys get a more defined role. We don't need to see Ramsey picking up, being the first receiver. He's not good at that. He's not great at that. And I just think it's time now. Wenger said today, January is the moment of truth, and it's as much for him as for the whole Premiership. I mean, he's got to really sort out what needs to be done and get a picture in his mind going forward. How we're going to play.
I think in terms of that sort of bigger picture, I think the next, I say 3 Premier League games are absolutely vital to the rest of the season, to potentially Arsene Wenger's future at Arsenal, to the whole bigger picture. Because I think, our next 2 games, we should be getting 6 out of 6. It's a time where Spurs will play Chelsea. I think, or they might. Spurs, Man City. Sorry, Liverpool play Chelsea. Man United go to Stoke. So there's big games there when we quietly should be able to just get on with us and win them, and just kind of like last weekend with the big game at Old Trafford, we did our job at Swansea, job done. So and then going into that Chelsea game, and I think if we lose that Chelsea game again, it's just that's the title definitely gone. If we don't think it's gone already, so. It seems a very big moment.
And really, I just want to cover this really quickly, but looking at the top 6 now, You know, the margin for error is so
Yeah.
slim. The margin for error is so slim. You know, like you said, we've got all 5 of the top 6 teams are taking chunks out of each other in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The only team that's got a clear run to April is Man United.
Yeah.
And they'll be quietly picking. They're gaining the momentum. They're quietly picking up.
I mean, they've still got City to play before.
Yeah.
haven't they?
No, but they don't play again another top 16 till April.
Oh right.
So between now and April, they've got a nice run of games. And they're
But their running must be quite difficult then, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
So's ours.
yeah, well, true.
Indeed.
I mean, we're looking at, we've still got to go to Liverpool, we've still got to go to Chelsea, we've still got to go to Spurs, and there's so little between the top 6. The difference between second and sixth is not going to be much. If we lose all 3 of those big games, we're looking at 5th, 6th place.
Yeah. It's all. I mean, pundits have said it. We've all said it. This league is going to be won. The top 4 is going to be determined on those big games, on that top 6, because
This year,
yeah. I mean, everyone can beat everyone, but it's kind of if you win a couple of those, you'll probably do all right.
And we've only won 1 of the 5 games we've played so far. We've only won one top 6 clash.
Yeah.
We're bottom of
We're
the
bottom of
top
the
6.
6, yeah.
But I presume there's probably quite a small gap between everyone's probably.
Well, Liverpool's on
has anyone won
13
more than-
points. In the top 6, if you look at the top 6 heads
Well, no,
head,
but-
Spurs.
yeah, are unbeaten.
So Liverpool would have won 2, drawn.
No, Liverpool's won 3, drawn 3. I think Spurs they haven't been defeated yet. I don't think. Man City and Man United.
Spurs lost to Chelsea away.
Did they?
So that's
Okay.
one, yeah.
I think Liverpool are out front with 13 points in the top 6.
And Liverpool have done most of them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now.
Liverpool went to Spurs. Yeah, they drew, didn't they? Yeah.
After, as you said, are bottom of that top 6 with 5 points.
Well,
Which might not actually be to their benefit, to be honest, because of the squad they've got. I think they feel a little bit more pressure playing at Anfield than they do playing away from home. Away from home, whilst they've still got good support, it's a little bit easier for them rather than at Anfield, where there is obviously with the bigger
And the
stadium this
style
year.
they play.
There's a lot more expectation on them. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of football to be played, but I think more so than ever, it is really going to come down to, unfortunately, that top 6 league, which we're not looking great at the moment. But and we've got 3 bad away games. The 2 home games, City and United, you'd kind of think, okay, look, we should be taking 6 points from them, 4 points minimum. My worry is Chelsea away, Spurs away. To be fair, Liverpool away, I don't know. It's a different game
as well.
But also we've got to go to Stoke, we've got to go to Southampton, we've got to go to West Brom. Places where historically
Troublesome.
we don't do that well over the last couple of years. So I'm a little bit concerned about it. I mean, it's quite funny about United. I love the fact United go on this really great run, and there's a bit sixth.
Managing challenge.
But
eventually,
at the end of the day, that doesn't kind of last. That's then doing
they're still
whatever.
only 3 or 4 points off of the second.
Exactly. The gap between second and 7th is like 5 points or something. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I think that Chelsea game to me feels so much like that Man City game a couple of years ago. Not in terms of that. I think this is more vital. But that Man City game a couple of years ago when we went there, we didn't play Ozil, we played that 3-man midfield pretty much. And why I say it's even why I kind of compare it is because we went to Chelsea as well and played a 3-man midfield with Ozil dropping deep, if you remember. We gave away a penalty and that actually ruined the game plan because we get that Eden has a penalty. And then Costa, I think, got one on the Fabregas over the top. But actually, we actually played quite well for 30 minutes with the 3, but you would have thought that actually if Ozil wasn't playing there or was playing wide or not playing at all, replaced by one of the, then suddenly are you more compact there?
So, if we're looking ahead to the seminal game, Chelsea, and our setup and shape, how do you think, I mean, just looking at it on a very uneducated level, where do you think we can...
Uneducated level? You looked at me there. I mean, you're probably right. But
where do you see where we can penetrate Chelsea? Where are their weaknesses? Where can we take advantage of their weaknesses?
Listen, I'm never a big fan of playing negative football, and realistically, the only time I've ever seen Arsene Wenger kind of play negative football was the 2005 Cup final that we've discussed many times. But I think this is definitely it's a game where it's more of a do not lose this game. We cannot give them 3 points more ahead of us than they might be at that point anyway. So I think we have to make sure we don't lose. So, I mean, I said it at the weekend, I would be concerned about playing Mesut Ozil. I would probably look at playing 3 in midfield, which would be Coquelin, Xhaka and Ramsey, just to really give us a bit of a solid base. And then the 3 up front, definitely Alexis at top, because Giroud, I think they'll just eat them up all day long. If it's Alexis, they're going to really worry about what he's going to do to their 3 centre-halves. And then, you've probably got, hopefully, by then Walcott on the right. And on the left, I don't know, I know Clive talked about Mesut Ozil, and he wrote a really good blog saying that Mesut Ozil could move out that way, and I think, if people get the chance to read that, have a read of it, because it's a good idea. Otherwise, you're looking at, the left side is Iwobi, or it's Perez, or it's Danny Welbeck, if he's sort of match sharp by then.
Oxlade Chamberlain? I mean, I don't.
I think
I'll go Welbeck if he's
fit.
Welbeck's fit. I'll go Welbeck.
You bung him in. You've got 4 choices for that left bit. So I don't know. But I just sort of think I'd really like us to go there and just be in the game. And again, it's kind of like you and I saw it last year when we went there. And they weren't playing great, and we were playing quite well, and we went there and we were shit. And yes, Mike Dean, etc., etc. But we probably got out of that game what we deserved. Forget about decisions or anything. So I just want us to go there and really, really, I think, show that as a club we can go and do something sensible from a football point of view, looking ahead, not just at that game, because we cannot give them 3 points.
Where I see where we can exploit them is their 2 wing backs. Moses is not a right wing back.
On the
Alonso,
right. On their left. If Walcott is fit, I think that's where the key would be, because Hazard plays on their left but really doesn't track back. And like you say, Victor Moses.
They're not good in reverse.
Yeah. I mean, Moses and Alonso, they serve more of an attacking purpose, really.
Exactly.
And I actually think having Ozil left and Walcott right.
Alonso looks like it's just caught up on him all the games.
But I still think he's susceptible.
That's what I'm saying. He looks like it's caught up on him. So actually.
And actually, I think if you play, say, Ozil left and Walcott right, you can almost tuck Ozil in a little bit and have it like a midfield 4, and then leave Walcott quite far forward behind their wing backs. I mean, the space that Tottenham exploited when they beat them recently was behind behind Hazard. That space. That little section of pitch, perhaps between the wing back and the centre half on the left side. That's the bit we've got.
That was one of the changes of their system, wasn't it? Was to sort of like allow Hazard not to bother too much about what he was doing behind him, and Spurs worked that out quite well actually, and played to that point. So,
and also it's about shifting those centre 2 midfielders, Conte and Matic. You like to stick in the middle, shifting them out of their zone, and that's where
playing Ozil wide
and Alexis up top makes sense.
I mean, I would also probably add there that with Walcott, we're presuming he'll be fit by then, but it's 3 weeks. He's still going to be another week, Wenger said. So we're looking. So I actually think if we were to take Walcott out, if he's fit, great. If he's not, then I would actually think about. Then I think Ozil you kind of have to put him in, I suppose. And then I'm thinking about Welbeck again, because do you remember Spurs away? Welbeck played right,
exactly.
and he was fantastic.
Exactly.
I
tell you what, Mark, you said something a couple of weeks ago that actually came to bear at Swansea, is that Ozil was actually very effective pressing from the front, and it showed. I think against Swansea, he had the most interceptions in the game. Definitely. The best way to get him to defend is actually playing him.
You can't ask Mesut Ozil to defend in your middle third or your back third 100%, but he can make himself busy and a nuisance in that front third, and I think they said that only Hazard had done more turnovers
because Conte did the same thing for Hazard. Don't worry about that.
Exactly. So I think Ozil can do that. So definitely I think they're saying that adds value to looking at what we're doing with him.
And in defensively, our defensive setup for that game, I mean, Hazard's playing like 14-15 Hazard now, and you've got Diego Costa loves playing against us. I mean, Mustafi and Koscielny have to start, and you want them to. The thing about Mustafi is he's played generally well. He's still settling in. He's not really had much of a pre-season. Come back from the Euros. He's supposed to have been injured before he joined us. He has a couple of lapses of concentration, and against someone like Diego Costa and Eden Hazard, that cannot happen.
Yeah, he seems quite mentally strong. Like he'll thrive on that pressure. I think actually the lapses of concentration have actually come against the lesser teams a little bit, you know. So I actually think
you look at last season's game, and we were all thinking, Gabriel, Costa, they've got history, and Gabriel, he lost the plot.
Yeah.
He lost the plot. He let the team down. Yeah. Mustafi, to me, one of the best things about Mustafi is that he doesn't look like he gets involved in that. I like him, you know. I think he can be a shithouser in a kind of Arsenal way, but I don't think that he'll get dragged into the Costa games in the same way that Gabriel did. So I think Mustafi and Koscielny would probably be fine.
Yeah, and look at the way they played against Costa and Hazard. I'm sure they took Hazard off actually, and Costa had no joy. And I know maybe that was a different Chelsea team, but it was exactly the same. They were aggressive, Koscielny and Mustafi, but without, like you say, without getting involved in on the ball, give him the dig, shoulder him off, and then just walk away. Don't engage after that.
Yeah. He was very wound up, wasn't he, Costa?
Do you think that Wenger asks us to be very instructional? He'll set the team out in a very instructional way, in kind of the same way that we started the first half against Man City?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Do you think that would be the best way to go, though? Do you not think that maybe playing up against Chelsea and causing them stress in the back third, being a bit more? You spoke once about taking risks and gambling. Yeah. Do you think that's not a game that?
Maybe. I think because of our history at Stamford Bridge, we don't want this game to get away from us. Especially in the first half an hour.
First goal is massive in that game. Actually, first, if we score it, anything can happen. But if Chelsea get it, the first goal, it's massive for us. You know,
I just hope that we're not going to be the same kind of. Even though we've managed to get a draw out of Man United, for 85 minutes of that game, we would.
I think where Jim's coming from as well is in the last two seasons, since that 6-0, he's always been a bit more, reticent. As I said, he dropped Ozil back. Ozil was not a number 10 against Chelsea, was it last year or season before? He was a part of a 3. Again, as I said, gave away a penalty, game plan went to shreds, but I think here, I think they would look to do that. It just depends. If Ozil's not the 3 and someone else is, then it does change the game. It's that quick transition as well, that actually, when you do get that ball, if you've got Alexis, you've got Theo, you've got Mesut playing left, or Welbeck, whoever, you've suddenly got that. And you know, someone like Ramsey can also, you know, he'll be ready to go. So you can do a bit of both, I think. We might start the first 10, 15 a little bit like that, but you can, if you've got the right players, you can turn it like that.
I'll tell you one thing though, it's a 90-minute game.
Yeah.
It's not a 45, it's a 90-minute game. We can't turn up Jekyll and Hyde. It's got to be like Jekyll or Hyde, whichever one will win us the game, not the one that will lose us the game.
Well, what I'm saying is you can change it though.
But we have to go there. You know, it's you know, if we want a chance of winning the league, it's United 98 away. You know, it's that game where you're going to go there and your keeper is going to keep you in the game, and like someone's going to go and nick you a goal at the end for a 1-0 win. That's what that game is.
Absolutely. And I mean, what that would do, I mean, I'm not getting too sort of ahead of myself, but I mean, what that would do to the season, you know, beating Chelsea. I mean, we've seen what's happened with Spurs, you know. Remember, Spurs, alright, they've won 6 in a row, but they went to Old Trafford and lost. They went to Chelsea and lost.
They've had a blip
as well, so you just think a win against Chelsea, and then suddenly
makes them fragile mentally as well.
And you look at our lot, presuming, I mean, the Chelsea game doesn't matter if we don't get 6 out of 6, you know, before that, but then it actually makes the whole period after Man City very successful.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up. I want to thank all my esteemed colleagues here. Tim.
Pleasure.
Akhil.
No problem.
And Mr. Marky Mark. This has been a Gooner Ramble podcast. Thanks for watching.
Up the Arsenal.